It began with a whisper, not in the palace corridors this time, but in the buzzing digital studios of Amazon. A whisper that said Meghan Markle, the Duchess-turned-documentary darling, was coming back to acting. But not just in any role. This was supposed to be her grand re-entry into Hollywood, her redemption arc, the chapter where she proves she's more than royal controversy. But then something unexpected happened. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. A quiet storm began to build. It started with subtle unease, with glances exchanged between crew members, with whispered frustrations behind soundproof trailers. And at the center of it all stood Lily Collins, sweet, poised, and loved by the industry, staring across the set at a woman once adored by millions, now carrying the weight of global skepticism. The question everyone is now asking is simple: what went wrong? Was this Meghan Markle's chance to rewrite her narrative, or did she just walk back into the same fire she once claimed to escape? You see, Meghan's return to Hollywood wasn't supposed to be messy. It was supposed to be historic. After years of interviews, public battles, and brand building, this was her comeback, an Amazon-backed feature starring alongside Lily Collins and Brie Larson. 3 powerhouse women, 3 different energies, and a promise that this movie would redefine modern female storytelling. But behind that promise, insiders say, lay a completely different picture, one that smelled less like redemption and more like déjà vu. Because if the palace once called her difficult, Hollywood had its own words, and they weren't kind. From day one, Meghan's arrival on set drew attention. Cameras weren't rolling yet, but every step she took was calculated. Every smile, rehearsed. Some say it felt like she was still playing a role. Only this time the costume wasn't a royal gown. It was ambition wrapped in designer silk. Lily Collins, ever the professional, tried to keep things light. She had just wrapped another season of Emily in Paris, and fans were eager to see her in a more grounded, dramatic project. Brie Larson, calm and cerebral, had her own rhythm, focused, collaborative, exacting. But Meghan, she had a different tempo altogether. The first few days were civil, friendly, even. The crew whispered that Meghan seemed determined to prove she could fit in, laughing a little too loudly, offering coffee to assistants, making casual small talk with producers. Yet beneath the charm, there was tension, that kind of tension that hums quietly until it snaps. And soon it did. But before we get there, let's rewind a little. Why does Meghan Markle's return to acting matter so much? Why does this story have Hollywood, royal watchers, and even feminist critics glued to every leak and rumor? Because Meghan isn't just another actress. She's a global figure who built her second identity on rejecting the Hollywood she once belonged to. After marrying into the royal family, she framed her departure from acting as a liberation. "I found my real purpose," she said once. But after her royal exit and the failed Spotify deal, the canceled Netflix projects, and the fading glow of the Sussex brand, this movie felt like a resurrection. Except, it didn't play out that way. According to multiple insiders, what began as excitement quickly turned into anxiety. Meghan's vision for the film allegedly clashed with the director's. Her insistence on rewriting certain lines caused frustration. And her co-stars? They noticed. Lily Collins, who's known for her quiet grace, reportedly tried to mediate during early rehearsals. She believed in harmony. She believed in storytelling. What she didn't believe in was hierarchy. And that, some say, was Meghan's first problem. Because the hierarchy Meghan was used to, the royal one, doesn't exist on a film set. You don't curtsy to the director. You don't demand to be addressed as ma'am. You don't have your own separate PR team dictating who stands where in the group photo. Yet, slowly, these small quirks, harmless to some, infuriating to others, began to surface. Still, no one spoke publicly. Not yet. What's fascinating here isn't just the gossip. It's the psychology behind it. Meghan spent years being both idolized and vilified. The media called her a victim of the system and then accused her of manipulating it. So when she stepped back into acting, she didn't walk in as a blank slate. She carried the weight of every headline ever written about her. Every raised eyebrow from a producer carried the echo of palace judgment. Every whispered critique from a co-star must have sounded like déjà vu. Imagine that kind of pressure. But here's the twist. Pressure reveals character. And what it revealed on this Amazon set, according to those who were there, was something few dared to say aloud until Lily did. At first, it was subtle, a scene that required multiple takes because Meghan refused to follow direction. A lighting setup delayed because she wanted the focus shifted slightly. The crew started calling it the Markle Hour, an extra 60 minutes added to every shoot day because of her adjustments. Brie Larson reportedly stayed neutral, at least outwardly. She knew better than to get entangled in Hollywood politics, especially when royalty was involved. But even she, insiders claim, was seen looking uncomfortable during certain exchanges. So what exactly did Lily Collins witness that made her step forward later? What did she see that crossed from difficult to unacceptable? That's what this story will unravel. Because what started as small creative disagreements soon spiraled into whispered accusations of manipulation, of gaslighting, of emotional bullying. Lily, they say, kept her composure, but the tension between her and Meghan became impossible to ignore. Crew members described the atmosphere as thick. One production assistant reportedly said, "You could feel it, like walking into a storm that hadn't hit yet." And that storm finally broke one afternoon, when a confrontation between Lily and Meghan turned the entire set silent. That was the moment, according to multiple witnesses, that the mask cracked. But here's the chilling part. The cameras weren't even rolling when it happened. By the end of that day, people were talking. Not just in hushed tones, but through private texts, internal messages, and quiet complaints to Amazon's upper management. Someone, somewhere, had recorded audio, and within days, that clip would make its way into the wrong hands. And when it did, Meghan Markle's Hollywood comeback transformed from an inspiring headline into a potential PR disaster. It wasn't just about one argument or one bad day. It was about pattern recognition. Hollywood insiders began whispering, "We've seen this movie before." Think about it. Meghan's history with conflict, from royal staff resignations to production disputes, had always been blamed on misunderstandings or media distortion. But this time, there was evidence. Voices, context, a digital breadcrumb trail that couldn't be denied. And at the center stood Lily Collins, calm, elegant, but quietly furious. The girl who never wanted drama was suddenly thrust into one. Now, some say Lily didn't intend to expose Meghan. She just wanted to speak her truth after watching the narrative twist again in Meghan's favor. Others insist she had enough, that this was about respect, about accountability, about drawing a line in an industry too often ruled by silence. Either way, what came next changed everything. Because as the world prepared to celebrate Meghan Markle's return to acting, the red carpets, the interviews, the magazine covers, another story was brewing behind closed doors. A story that would spill into headlines and force Hollywood to ask, can redemption coexist with entitlement? You might be wondering, why didn't anyone stop it sooner? Why didn't Amazon step in when tension first sparked? The truth, according to one insider, is both strategic and cynical. They wanted the drama, they said. Controversy sells. Meghan's name guarantees clicks. Even bad press is good press when the budget's this big. It's ironic, isn't it? The same system Meghan claimed destroyed her royal life now seemed willing to profit from her Hollywood one. But here's where things get even stranger. While the public was told that filming was going smoothly, certain cast and crew members were reportedly signing NDAs faster than the script pages were being rewritten. Someone at the top wanted silence. Control. Containment. Yet silence doesn't last forever. Not in Hollywood. And when Lily Collins finally decided to speak, she didn't just tell her story. She told everyone else's too. What she revealed about Meghan's behavior on set stunned even those who thought they'd seen it all. Allegations of verbal intimidation. Strategic isolation. Scenes res hot because co-stars refused to stand near her. It was no longer a whisper, it was a reckoning. But the question now isn't just about Meghan's behavior. It's about something deeper. Why does this pattern keep repeating? Why does every environment she enters seem to crumble into the same chaos? Is it the media? The pressure? The persona? Or is it something within her, a need to dominate, to prove, to rewrite every script to fit her image? That's what we'll uncover in the chapters ahead. Because what began as a movie project soon turned into a morality play, and the battle between image and integrity was about to explode. But before we dive into Lily Collins' breaking point, before we hear about the walkout, the leaked memos, the buried audio clips, there's one more thing you need to know. something no one expected. The story of Meghan's Hollywood return doesn't start with her signing the Amazon deal. It starts months earlier, with a quiet meeting in Los Angeles between her and a top executive. A meeting that, according to sources, was never meant to go public. What was discussed in that meeting, and who attended, would later explain everything that unfolded on set. And once you know that part of the story, the rest of this scandal makes perfect, shocking sense. Because as it turns out, Meghan didn't just come back to act. She came back to control. It started the moment Meghan Markle stepped onto the set. Not a word had been said yet. Not a camera had started rolling. And still, everyone felt it, that unmistakable shift in the air. The crew, seasoned professionals who had worked with some of Hollywood's most demanding names, exchanged quick glances. Something about her entrance felt choreographed, calculated, almost regal. But this wasn't Buckingham Palace. This was a film set, and on a film set, everyone answers to the director. Or at least, that's how it's supposed to work. From the very first rehearsal, Meghan seemed determined to rewrite the rules. She didn't just act her scenes, she managed them. She adjusted the lights. She corrected the makeup artist. She even asked the sound engineer if he could soften her microphone tone to make her voice sound less sharp. One production assistant would later describe it like this: "She didn't walk in like an actress. She walked in like a brand." That's an important distinction. Because to Meghan, this wasn't just another movie. This was a reintroduction to the world, her cinematic rebirth. Every detail mattered. Every angle was her legacy. And every person around her, it seemed, was either an ally or an obstacle. At first, no one dared to confront her. Why would they? She was the Duchess of Sussex, the woman whose name could send tabloids into meltdown. Amazon had spent millions securing her for this project. No one wanted to be the first to make her unhappy. But Lily Collins noticed. She noticed the way Meghan would subtly interrupt people mid-sentence. The way she'd restate other actors' lines in her own words, as if improving them. The way she'd ask the cinematographer to capture more warmth in my presence. A phrase that made even the director raise an eyebrow. Still, Lily stayed polite. She'd worked with big personalities before. In Hollywood, egos come with the paycheck. She believed in professionalism, in letting people adjust. But by day 3, even she started to wonder if this was about more than nerves. Because Meghan wasn't just confident, she was controlling. And it wasn't just her behavior that gave it away. It was the silences, the calculated pauses, the looks, the sense that she was constantly measuring everyone around her. When the director, an award-winning indie filmmaker known for collaboration, tried to give her direction, Meghan smiled, nodded, and then ignored it completely. "You know," she said softly, "I've worked with world-class directors before, and I think this scene would feel more authentic if I lead the emotional pacing." Translation: she was taking over. The director's assistant scribbled notes, confused. The camera crew reset. Lily, standing a few feet away, pretended to fix her sleeve. She knew what was happening. Meghan was rewriting the scene to make herself the emotional center. That would become a pattern. Each time another actor's character had a big moment, Meghan would somehow redirect the attention toward herself. Whether it was through posture, timing, or subtle improvisation, she made sure every emotional beat circled back to her. It was masterful, manipulative, exhausting. And for Lily Collins, it was becoming a problem. You see, Lily wasn't just a co-star. She was also an executive producer on this project, a role that required balancing creative harmony and artistic integrity. She wasn't interested in drama, but she also wasn't going to let one person jeopardize months of work and the reputations of everyone involved. So, one morning, during a key scene, Lily tried something subtle. She approached Meghan during a break and said, in that calm, composed Lily way, "Hey, I think we should try running the scene as it was originally written. It has more balance that way." Meghan smiled, the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. "Oh, absolutely," she said sweetly. "We'll give that a shot, after we do it my way first." Lily blinked. "Sure, of course." The director caught Lily's expression from across the set. He didn't intervene. Not yet. No one wanted to. But by lunchtime, Meghan's way had caused the schedule to slip again. Her insistence on redoing scenes from new angles meant the crew was now 2 hours behind. And when the assistant director quietly mentioned this to her, Meghan's tone shifted from friendly to frost. Maybe if we had better time management, she said sharply, we'd be done already. It wasn't the words, it was the way she said them. Cold. Final. Public. A silence fell over the room. Lily lowered her coffee cup. The crew pretended to check their phones. Even Brie Larson, who usually floated through tension like it was smoke, froze mid-sentence. That was the first time Meghan raised her voice. Not loud, but cutting. And in that instant, the unspoken truth spread through the set. Meghan Markle wasn't here to collaborate. She was here to command. The irony? She didn't see it that way. In her mind, this was leadership. She'd been criticized before for being difficult, for having opinions. This time, she was reclaiming that narrative. Taking charge, not taking orders. To her, that was empowerment. To everyone else, it was chaos. By the end of the first week, word had reached Amazon's upper management. Quietly, executives began checking in with the director, asking if things were running smoothly. His answer was diplomatic but telling. We're adjusting to Meghan's creative rhythm. Translation, it's a mess. Meanwhile, Lily tried to stay optimistic. She told herself maybe Meghan was just nervous, trying too hard to prove herself after years of public scrutiny. But deep down, she knew better. There's a difference between pressure and pride. And Meghan's pride was suffocating the set. Every time Lily tried to contribute, Meghan would subtly shift the focus. During table reads, she'd interrupt with actually, in my experience. During costume fittings, she'd question every choice that wasn't centered on her character. Even her dialogue, written to balance power between the three female leads, was slowly morphing into something else. She was rewriting the film in real time, one insider said later. Every scene became about her. By week 2, even the crew had developed coping strategies. They'd quietly roll their eyes when Meghan requested a moment to realign the emotional tone. They'd swap jokes about the Meghan schedule. Brie Larson stayed quiet, but her patience was wearing thin. She'd been in similar situations before, strong personalities, ego clashes, creative friction. But this felt different. This felt personal. She noticed how Meghan's friendliness with certain people would shift overnight. One day she'd praise the wardrobe stylist for understanding her vision, and the next she'd have the same woman replaced after a minor disagreement about color palette. One word from Meghan carried consequences, and that's when Lily started keeping notes. Every odd comment, every uncomfortable exchange, every delay. She wasn't planning to use them, not yet, but she knew how Hollywood worked. When someone like Meghan was involved, the narrative always bent her way. If things went south, Lily wanted her own record of truth. Then came the moment that changed everything. It was a simple rehearsal scene. Meghan's character was supposed to show vulnerability, an emotional breakdown after a betrayal. Lily's character had the upper hand, confronting her with calm strength. It was one of the most pivotal moments in the film, a scene designed to showcase both actresses' range. The cameras rolled. Lily delivered her lines with quiet intensity. The director nodded approvingly. Meghan responded, but something was off. Her tone didn't match the script. Instead of fragility, she gave defiance. Instead of tears, she delivered arrogance. The director stopped. Let's try that again, he said gently. Remember, this moment is about loss. She's breaking. Meghan inhaled slowly. I understand the note, she said, but I think it's more powerful if she doesn't break. If she rises instead. Women don't have to cry to be strong. It was a compelling argument, and a clever one. But it missed the point of the entire scene. The director tried to explain, but Meghan was already shaking her head. I'm not comfortable playing her as weak, she said. That's not authentic to me. Lily looked at her, trying to read the tone. This wasn't just about creative interpretation, it was about control. After 3 takes, the tension was visible. The director leaned back in his chair, defeated. The crew waited. And finally, Lily, the last person anyone expected to speak up, said quietly, maybe we can find a middle ground. Strength can exist even in breaking. Meghan turned her head, her smile sharp. Maybe, but this isn't your moment, is it? That line, that tone, it froze everyone in place. It wasn't just dismissive. It was territorial. Lily didn't respond. She didn't need to. Her silence spoke louder than any argument could. The director called for a break. The set emptied out in awkward quiet. Later, one crew member said, you could feel something shift that day. Lily lost respect for her. You could see it in her eyes. And they were right. That was the day Lily stopped defending Meghan privately. That was the day she started realizing this wasn't a misunderstanding, it was a pattern. Still, she tried to hold the production together. She checked in with the crew, kept morale up, reassured everyone that it would get better. But it didn't. It got worse. By week 3, small issues had turned into power struggles. Meghan reportedly began requesting her own lighting setup, different from everyone else's. She refused to share dressing rooms near other cast members. She even brought in her own personal creative consultant, a move that violated contract protocols. It was no longer a set. It was a battleground. And while Amazon executives kept quiet, whispers grew louder. Someone from production leaked a short message to an industry insider. The atmosphere's toxic. Lily's had enough. But before anyone could confirm, something else happened, something that would soon make headlines around the world. An audio clip surfaced. It wasn't public yet, not even leaked online, just circulating quietly among a handful of trusted people. It captured Meghan's voice, sharp, unfiltered, in a tense moment between takes. No one outside the inner circle knew what she said. Not yet. But those who heard it claimed it was the kind of recording that could destroy reputations. Still, before that clip ever reached the press, Lily Collins made a decision that would change everything. She decided to confront Meghan, not as a co-star, not as a producer, but as a person who'd had enough. And that confrontation, the one that would later force Amazon's executives into crisis meetings and set off a chain reaction across Hollywood, began with a single, calm sentence. "Meghan," Lily said softly, "this isn't working anymore." It's strange how big problems always start small, not with an explosion, but with a flicker, a gesture, a glance, a word slightly out of place. That's exactly how it began between Lily Collins and Meghan Markle. Not with confrontation, but with something almost invisible. The wardrobe fitting. It was supposed to be a casual morning, coffee in hand, light conversation, racks of clothing lined up in neat rows. The costume designer had prepared looks for each of the 3 leads, Lily, Brie, and Meghan. The vibe was relaxed, even fun, until Meghan arrived. She didn't greet anyone at first. She just looked around the room, her gaze scanning the garments like a queen inspecting subjects. "Who chose these?" she asked finally. The designer, a veteran in the industry, smiled nervously. "We worked from the director's notes. The tone is minimal, grounded, authentic." Meghan picked up one of her costumes, a cream blouse paired with soft gray trousers. Elegant, simple, perfect for her character's emotional arc. But she frowned. "It feels underwhelming," she said. "This character has power. She wouldn't wear something this plain." Lily glanced up from her own fitting. The irony wasn't lost on her. The scene they were preparing for was meant to strip away power, to show the vulnerability beneath the surface. But Meghan was rewriting it again, one outfit at a time. The designer tried to explain the creative reasoning, but Meghan cut her off with a calm smile. "I understand the vision," she said. "But this doesn't tell the story of who she really is. She's not small. She's commanding. She leads the energy in every room." It wasn't arrogance in her tone. It was conviction, the kind that dares anyone to challenge it. Lily could see the tension rising. The designer's hands trembled slightly as she adjusted a hemline. Brie kept silent, pretending to scroll through her phone, but her jaw tightened. Then, Meghan said something that made everyone freeze. "I can't wear this. It doesn't photograph well on my skin tone." The designer blinked, startled. "We can adjust the lighting." "No," Meghan interrupted. "Change the color palette. Something warmer. Cream washes me out." That was it. That was Lily's first red flag. Because it wasn't just about the clothes. It was about control, again. The way Meghan used language, soft, professional, but final. The way she reframed an aesthetic discussion as a personal necessity. And the way everyone else just nodded, because disagreeing with Meghan Markle was a career risk. Lily didn't speak then, but she watched. Closely. Later that day, she pulled the designer aside quietly. "Are you okay?" she asked. The woman hesitated, looking down at her hands. "She's very particular," she said softly. "But it's fine. It's her project too, I guess." No, it wasn't her project. It was everyone's. Lily didn't say that out loud, but it stayed in her head. A simple truth echoing louder each day. This wasn't collaboration. It was domination disguised as vision. Still, Lily gave Meghan the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was nerves. Maybe she was overcompensating. Maybe, just maybe, she still saw herself as a royal trying to prove she belonged in the trenches again. But over the next few days, those little things started stacking up. A line rewritten here. A blocking change there. A last-minute suggestion that turned into a demand. By the end of the week, the crew had a running joke. What's the Meghan version of today's scene? They laughed quietly when she wasn't around, but the laughter carried tension. Because everyone knew, if Meghan overheard, there'd be consequences. And then came the table read. A full cast session, cameras rolling for behind-the-scenes footage. The director sat at the center, script in hand. Meghan sat directly across from Lily, exuding calm authority. The first few pages went fine. Then they reached a key exchange, Lily's character confronting Meghan's. It was emotional, raw, unfiltered. The kind of scene actors crave. Lily delivered her line. "You can't manipulate everyone forever." Meghan smiled faintly before responding. "Maybe not. But I can outlast them." It landed perfectly, cold, sharp, cinematic. But then, instead of stopping, Meghan added a line that wasn't in the script. "Because I always win." The room went silent. The director frowned. The script supervisor flipped through her notes. Lily blinked, caught off guard. The words had power, too much power. They didn't belong to the character. They belonged to Meghan herself. And that's when it hit Lily. This wasn't acting. This was projection. The woman sitting across from her wasn't channeling a fictional role. She was channeling herself. Her own survival instincts. Her own defiance. Her own narrative. When the read ended, the director approached Meghan gently. "That was strong," he said. "But we need to stick to the dialogue for editing consistency." Meghan tilted her head. "I thought authenticity mattered more than conformity." There it was again, that calm, cutting defiance. The director forced a smile. "Of course, but maybe we can discuss it later." Meghan agreed, and then did it again in the next rehearsal. Lily could feel the energy draining from the set. What should have been a creative process was turning into a power struggle. The air was thick with tension, and every conversation felt like walking a tightrope. Bree tried to diffuse things with humor. "Guess we've got a few method actors here," she joked once. No one laughed. The whispers started soon after. Crew members quietly shared stories of small incidents. Meghan dismissing an assistant for handing her the wrong type of bottled water, requesting that background extras not look directly at her between takes, asking the director to adjust Lily's camera angle because it's unflattering to the composition. Each moment was small enough to overlook. But together, they painted a pattern Lily couldn't ignore anymore. She started noticing things that made her uneasy. Meghan's smile fading the second cameras stopped rolling. Her tone shifting when she spoke to staff versus co-stars. The subtle way she always positioned herself in the center of every group photo. It wasn't just vanity, it was control, again. One afternoon, Lily overheard Meghan speaking with her assistant. The tone was hushed but intense. "I'm not being difficult," Meghan said. "I'm setting standards. People need to rise to them." Lily froze. The phrasing sounded familiar. The same justification Meghan had used years ago when palace staff resigned in waves. The same pattern wrapped in different packaging. And that's when Lily realized this wasn't temporary tension. This was who Meghan was. Still, Lily tried one last time to bridge the gap. After a long shooting day, she invited Meghan and Bree to dinner, just the three of them. No cameras, no producers, no assistants. Just a chance to connect. Meghan accepted, smiling warmly. "I'd love that," she said. But when Lily arrived at the restaurant, Meghan was already seated. Surrounded by two publicists, a personal photographer, and a stylist. "This is more efficient," Meghan said cheerfully. "We can discuss both creative and promotional angles." Lily blinked. "I thought this was just dinner." "Oh, it is," Meghan said, waving for more wine. "I just like to multitask." The dinner was polite but stiff. Meghan spoke mostly about brand synergy and the importance of curating narrative consistency. Bree listened silently, sipping her drink. Lily smiled and nodded, but inside, something shifted. This wasn't collaboration. It was performance. And for the first time, Lily began to feel sorry for her. Because beneath all the control, there was fear, a deep, gnawing fear of losing power. Meghan wasn't just protecting her image, she was clinging to it. Still, empathy didn't erase the damage. By the end of the night, Lily realized that nothing about this movie was going to be easy. Meghan's influence was growing, and the director was losing ground. Even Bree's patience was thinning. The next morning proved it. A simple wardrobe issue spiraled into a full-blown argument. Meghan refused to wear a specific accessory, a necklace that symbolized her character's guilt. She called it off-brand and claimed it conflicted with her personal messaging. Lily stepped in gently. "It's symbolic," she said. "It's meant to show internal conflict." Meghan smiled sweetly. Conflict isn't part of her journey. She evolves past it. Lily exhaled. "That's the story." But Meghan just shrugged. Maybe the story needs to evolve too. The crew exchanged glances. The director massaged his temples. Bree muttered something under her breath that sounded a lot like, "Here we go again." That was the day everyone realized Lily wasn't just dealing with a diva. She was dealing with a strategist. Meghan's moves were calculated, her words rehearsed, her charm weaponized. Later that week, when Lily walked into her trailer, she found something strange, her script missing. When it resurfaced the next day, key notes she'd made in the margins were gone. Her instincts told her not to accuse anyone, but her gut whispered the truth. Someone wanted control over the story, literally. That night, Lily called a close friend, another actress who had once worked with Meghan on a charity video years ago. "Does she always do this?" Lily asked quietly. The friend hesitated. "She doesn't play the game," she said finally. "She is the game." Lily didn't sleep much that night. She wasn't angry. Not yet. Just wary. Her first red flag had grown into a warning siren. And she knew, sooner or later, something bigger was coming. And she was right. Because a week later, Meghan's behavior escalated in ways no one could ignore. A private confrontation. A leaked recording. A headline that would send shockwaves through Amazon. But before any of that, there was one moment. One quiet, piercing moment. When Lily realized she couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. It happened just before a scene that required emotional intimacy between the two women. As the director called for silence, Meghan leaned in close, smiled that immaculate smile, and whispered something only Lily could hear. "Careful," she said softly. "People remember who challenges me." The cameras rolled, and Lily's hands trembled for the first time in her career. But what came next would make that moment look like child's play, because the walkout, the confrontation, and the exposure were about to erupt. And this time, Meghan wouldn't be able to control the narrative. If Lily Collins was the quiet storm building in the background, Brie Larson was the calm before it. Controlled, composed, analytical. She'd seen tension on film sets before, but never like this. Brie wasn't someone who fed off gossip or emotional chaos. She was the kind of actor who did her homework, meditated between takes, and treated everyone, from producers to janitors, with the same level of respect. But even she could sense it. Something about this set had shifted. The moment she walked into the soundstage that morning, she felt the energy change. You could almost hear it, the uneasy silence that settles in after too many unspoken words. A few crew members avoided eye contact. The director was pacing more than usual. And Meghan Markle? She was standing near the camera, already in character, giving quiet instructions to the lighting technician about how to soften the exposure on her face. Brie exhaled. It was going to be one of those days. Still, she believed in balance, in finding the middle ground before things turned toxic. After all, this was a high-profile Amazon project. Billions were at stake. Careers, contracts, reputations. If this film failed, the fallout wouldn't just land on Meghan. It would splash on everyone around her. So when Meghan made another suggestion, this time about how Lily should deliver her lines in the upcoming scene, Brie decided to step in. "Maybe we should just try it both ways," she said lightly, offering a diplomatic smile. "See which one plays stronger on camera." It was the kind of neutral compromise that usually worked. But Meghan didn't even look at her. "Sure," Meghan said, "but I already know which version will work best." Brie nodded, unfazed. She'd dealt with difficult people before, but Meghan was something different. She had a calm assertiveness, a way of speaking that made everything sound reasonable, even when it wasn't. Still, Brie wasn't about to let the tension ruin the film. So, during a short break, she approached Meghan privately. "Hey," she said gently, "I know things have been a little tense. Maybe we can all sit down later. You, me, Lily, the director, just talk through the vision? Sometimes clarity fixes friction." Meghan smiled. the kind of smile that could charm a talk show audience. "Oh, Bree," she said softly, "I appreciate that. But honestly, it's fine. I just think some people are struggling to understand the bigger picture." Bree paused. "You mean Lily?" "I mean, creative differences," Meghan said, her voice lilting with diplomacy. "You know how it is." Bree didn't know how it was. She'd seen this pattern before, when power meets insecurity, when image outweighs collaboration. And she knew one thing for sure. The longer it went unaddressed, the worse it would get. The next scene they shot together confirmed it. It was supposed to be a quiet, emotional exchange, three women confronting the aftermath of betrayal. The script called for stillness, restraint, raw vulnerability. But Meghan couldn't resist turning it into a monologue. She added lines. She altered pacing. She even adjusted her blocking so the camera favored her angle. The director tried to intervene mid-take. "Let's bring it back to the original energy," he said. Meghan didn't flinch. "I am bringing energy," she replied. Lily looked away. Bree's expression hardened. The rest of the scene played out like a standoff disguised as acting. When the director finally called cut, the silence was thick. Lily walked off first, jaw tight. Meghan followed, muttering something to her assistant. Bree stayed behind for a moment, rubbing her temples. She could feel the crew's eyes on her. Everyone wanted her to say something, to fix it, somehow. Bree was, after all, the respected one. The Oscar winner. The diplomat. The unspoken authority. So later that day, she decided to do exactly that. She found Meghan in her trailer, surrounded by stylists and PR staff, scrolling through her phone. "Got a minute?" Bree asked. Meghan smiled politely. "Of course." Bree waited until the assistants left. "I wanted to talk about the dynamic on set," she began carefully. "It's starting to affect everyone's work. I think we need to find a rhythm that feels fair." Meghan tilted her head. "Fair?" "Yes," Bree said evenly. "Collaborative. Balanced." Meghan sighed softly. "I see what's happening. You think I'm taking over." Bree didn't answer immediately. Meghan leaned back, crossing her legs. "Look, I've dealt with this kind of thing before. People misunderstand confidence, especially in women. If I were a man asserting myself, no one would call it controlling." Bree nodded slowly. "You're right, but there's a difference between asserting and overpowering." A long pause followed. You could almost hear the clock ticking. Meghan's smile faded. "I just want the story told authentically," she said finally. "I've lived experiences that make me uniquely suited to tell this one." "And no one doubts that," Bree said. "But authenticity works best when it's shared." Meghan said nothing. Her eyes softened, but the silence said it all. Bree stood, gave a small nod, and left the trailer. She didn't realize it then, but that conversation would mark the last time Meghan looked at her as an equal. The next morning, things felt different. Word spread quickly that Meghan had requested changes to the next scene, specifically to the emotional beats involving Bree's character. She claimed the interaction didn't align with her brand's message. Her brand, not her character. Her brand. Bree stared at the revised script when she got it. Her character's most powerful line, the one that challenged Meghan's, was gone. She took a deep breath and went straight to the director. "Did you approve this?" she asked. He looked weary. "It came from higher up," he said. "Amazon. They want harmony. Harmony. The kind that silences one person to keep another happy." That was when Bree realized how dangerous this had become. This wasn't just ego anymore. It was control backed by corporate fear. Meghan's influence reached beyond the set. But Bree wasn't done fighting yet. She called Lily that night. They hadn't talked much since the tension started, but this time the conversation was honest. "Are you seeing what I'm seeing?" Bree asked. Lily laughed bitterly. "I'm feeling it. Every day. We can't keep doing this," Bree said. "Someone's going to snap." Lily was quiet for a moment. "You mean me?" Bree sighed. "Maybe. Or maybe it'll be her. But either way, this isn't sustainable." For the first time, the two women were united, not as co-stars, but as allies in survival. The next day, Bree tried again to keep the peace. She used humor, empathy, and patience. She even complimented Meghan on her performance in a tense scene, hoping to thaw the ice. Meghan smiled and thanked her, then immediately requested another take to capture a more regal tone. That word, regal, it hung in the air like smoke. It was the slip that said everything. Bree exchanged a glance with Lily. Both women knew what it meant. Meghan wasn't playing a character. She was performing herself, the Duchess, the victim, the misunderstood queen. And if the cameras ever stopped rolling, it didn't matter. She'd keep acting anyway. By week 4, everyone was walking on eggshells. Meghan's entourage grew larger, her influence heavier. Assistants were instructed not to speak to her directly unless spoken to. The director began communicating through intermediaries. Even the Amazon reps visiting the set started avoiding her. But Brie refused to play the silent observer any longer. During one crucial rehearsal, a major confrontation scene between the 3 leads, Meghan began improvising again, shifting focus entirely to her. The dialogue, once balanced, became a one-woman show. Finally, Brie broke character. "Can we cut for a second?" she asked, turning to the director. He hesitated. Sure. Cut." Brie faced Meghan directly. Her tone was calm but firm. "I respect your process," she said. "But we have to respect everyone else's too. You're rewriting dynamics that affect the entire narrative." Meghan's eyes narrowed slightly. "I thought we were exploring truth." Brie's expression didn't change. "Then let's explore all of it, not just yours." The silence that followed could have cracked glass. Lily held her breath. The crew froze. Even the sound operator stopped moving. Meghan smiled, that polished, PR-perfect smile, and said softly, "Of course, Brie. We're all professionals here." But the damage was done. From that moment, Meghan treated Brie differently. Polite in public, icy in private. The conversations became transactional, the energy colder. And though Brie continued to act with grace, she knew the invisible line had been drawn. 2 days later, a curious thing happened. During a lunch break, an intern accidentally overheard Meghan talking to her team in her trailer. The words weren't meant for public ears, but they spread quickly. "She thinks she can intimidate me because of an Oscar," Meghan said, her voice low but sharp. "But I've dealt with worse people than her. If she wants a war, I'll give her one." The intern didn't repeat it to everyone, just to one person. And from there, it traveled like wildfire. By the next morning, everyone on set knew. The fragile diplomacy that Brie had tried to preserve was gone. The mood was fractured beyond repair. And Meghan, intentionally or not, had isolated herself completely. Brie didn't confront her again. She didn't need to. The truth had already spoken louder than any argument could. Instead, she pulled Lily aside and said quietly, "Let her play her game. The truth always finds the camera." And it did. Because a week later, one of those cameras, a behind-the-scenes B-roll, captured something Amazon never planned to air, an unfiltered moment when Meghan snapped at a crew member over a trivial mistake. The clip didn't leak yet, but when it eventually did, it would become the first spark that ignited the explosion. And though Brie had tried to stop the fire, she knew, once it started burning, there would be no putting it out. Because next came Lily's breaking point. And that, unlike everything before it, couldn't be hidden. The tension had reached its breaking point. You could almost taste it, that electric heaviness that fills the air right before everything falls apart. No one said it out loud, but everyone knew something was about to happen. Meghan Markle had been pushing buttons for weeks. Every scene, every decision, every note from the director had to pass through her invisible filter of approval. What started as small creative suggestions had turned into quiet ultimatums. And on that Monday morning, Lily Collins finally snapped. The day began like any other. The cast was called early for a key emotional sequence. It was one of the film's centerpiece scenes, the 3 women confronting betrayal and forgiveness. Symbolic, layered, and emotionally charged. Ironically, the perfect metaphor for what was happening behind the scenes. The crew was quiet. The director looked pale, coffee in hand, eyes darting toward the door every few minutes. Everyone knew why. Meghan was late. Again. By now, the Duchess delay had become a running joke on set. Her assistant would send carefully worded texts. "Ms. Markle is finalizing her preparation for today's emotional material," which translated to, "She's not ready yet." When she finally arrived, the temperature seemed to drop. Sunglasses on, phone in hand, she offered a half smile. "Sorry, everyone. Traffic." No one believed her. Still, they began. Cameras rolled. Lights adjusted. The first take started smooth, until the director gave Lily a cue. "Let's hold that pause longer, Lily," he said. "Make it simmer." Meghan turned abruptly. "Actually, I think my line should come first. It feels more organic to her arc." The director hesitated. Let's try it both ways. Lily exhaled quietly. We've already rehearsed it the other way 5 times. Meghan smiled faintly. Right, but it didn't quite land. The room went silent. You could feel the crew's collective pulse rising. The director nodded stiffly. All right, let's reset. They tried it again, Meghan's way this time. But halfway through the scene, something inside Lily cracked. She delivered her line with conviction, but Meghan interrupted her mid-sentence, adding improvised dialogue that completely shifted the emotional balance. Lily froze, disbelief flickering across her face. The director called, "Cut." Lily looked directly at Meghan. What was that? Meghan tilted her head innocently. Just exploring the moment. That's not the moment, Lily said, her voice shaking now. That's manipulation. The set went dead quiet. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then Meghan laughed softly, a controlled, practiced sound. Lily, relax. It's just acting. Lily stared at her, the kind of look that strips away every layer of pretense. Then she dropped her script on the floor. Then act, she said coldly. Don't rewrite. The director tried to step in, but it was too late. The dam had broken. Lily walked off set. Not storming. Just walking, slow and deliberate. The crew parted silently as she passed. Meghan called after her, still smiling. We're professionals, right? You're not walking away over a line. Lily didn't respond. She disappeared into her trailer, closed the door, and didn't come back out. That's when the whispers started. The sound engineer leaned toward the script supervisor. Did she just quit? Someone else whispered. I think she's filing a complaint. Within minutes, the news reached Amazon's internal chat. Lily Collins walked off set. 3 words that sent executives scrambling. Inside her trailer, Lily sat on the couch, shaking, not with anger, but exhaustion. Weeks of bottled frustration, quiet humiliation, and forced diplomacy had finally spilled over. She wasn't just tired of Meghan. She was tired of pretending everything was fine. Her assistant knocked softly. You okay? No, Lily said, voice cracking. I'm done. Word traveled fast. By lunch, every major department knew the story. The grips, the lighting crew, even the caterers. People who had stayed neutral suddenly began voicing their own frustrations. One crew member put it bluntly. We've been walking on eggshells for weeks. She just did what everyone else was too scared to do. Brie Larson, hearing the news, left her trailer immediately and went to Lily's. Hey, she said quietly through the door. Can I come in? After a moment, the door opened. Lily looked pale, eyes red. Brie stepped inside and closed the door behind her. Talk to me. Lily exhaled, covering her face. I can't do it anymore, Brie. She's unbearable. Every day it's something new. The attitude, the control, the disrespect. Brie nodded, listening. You're not wrong. But walking off was the only thing left to do. Lily interrupted. If no one says anything, she'll keep doing it. Brie hesitated. You know they'll spin it. The press, her team. I don't care anymore, Lily said firmly. Let them spin it. At least I'll sleep tonight. Outside the trailer, Meghan was pacing, phone glued to her ear. No, I didn't do anything wrong, she was saying to someone, likely her PR manager. This is what happens when women assert themselves. They call you difficult. Her assistant tried to hand her a coffee. Meghan waved it off. From across the lot, the director watched helplessly. He looked like a man trapped in a storm he couldn't stop. Amazon executives started calling within the hour. The on-set producer received 3 separate messages asking for a damage assessment. But things were already spiraling. Someone from the sound department leaked a brief voice memo, a snippet from that morning's argument. It wasn't long, but it was enough. You could hear Meghan interrupting Lily, the rising tension, the clipped tone in her voice when she said, Relax, it's just acting. That clip never hit the press, not yet. But it circulated internally at Amazon, and what the executives heard terrified them. This wasn't just a creative disagreement. It was a brand crisis waiting to happen. One executive reportedly said, If this leaks, we're done. We cannot afford another PR disaster attached to Meghan Markle's name. The irony was brutal. The woman Amazon had cast to elevate their project was now the one threatening to destroy it. Brie tried to mediate again, one last time. She found Meghan sitting in her makeup chair, staring at her reflection. You have to talk to her, Brie said quietly. Fix this before it goes nuclear. Meghan met her eyes in the mirror. I didn't do anything wrong. Maybe not, Brie said. But it's not about being right. It's about saving the film. Meghan turned in her chair, her expression hardening. If she can't handle strong women, that's her issue, not mine. Bree shook her head. You're not listening. I am, Meghan said softly. And what I'm hearing is fear. Fear of me. Fear of power. Bree sighed. No. Fear of losing everything we've built because you can't read the room. The conversation ended there. Bree walked away. She knew it was pointless. By the next morning, Lily's representative had contacted Amazon's legal department. Officially, she wasn't quitting yet, but she was taking a break, pending mediation. Unofficially, everyone knew what that meant. The production was frozen. Cameras stopped rolling. The studio lights dimmed. Crew members wandered aimlessly, waiting for updates. Then came the meeting. Amazon called an emergency Zoom with top executives, the director, Meghan's agent, and Lily's team. The call lasted nearly 3 hours. Voices were raised. Lawyers quoted contract clauses. Someone even mentioned the word termination. When it ended, nothing was resolved. But one thing was clear. Someone had leaked details to the press. By evening, gossip sites were buzzing. Tension on Meghan Markle's Amazon movie set. Lily Collins reportedly walks off after heated exchange. The story exploded across social media. Fans were divided. Some defended Meghan. She's just being strong in a male-dominated industry. Others sided with Lily. She's known for being professional. If she walked out, it must be serious. Within hours, hashtag Meghan Markle meltdown began trending. Amazon panicked. Meghan's team went into damage control. And Lily? She stayed silent. That silence spoke volumes. Bree called her that night. Are you okay? I'm fine, Lily said softly. I just can't believe it got this far. Bree hesitated. They're saying you might not come back. Lily didn't answer for a moment. Maybe I shouldn't. Outside, paparazzi had already started gathering near the studio gates. Meghan's security team was doubled. Her assistant fielded nonstop calls. Meghan, meanwhile, was furious. She claimed the story was fabricated, that Lily's exit was temporary, and that creative collaboration can be misunderstood. But behind closed doors, she was livid. According to one insider, she reportedly told Amazon's PR rep, "Fix this. I will not be blamed for another woman's fragility." That single line would later appear, word for word, in a leaked email. The next day, Lily's trailer was emptied. Her wardrobe packed. Her parking space reassigned. The entire set stood still, watching as her car pulled away. For a moment, no one said anything. Then one crew member whispered, "There goes the heart of the film." Bree stared after her, eyes glistening. She deserved better, she murmured. Meghan walked by a few minutes later, head held high, phone pressed to her ear, pretending not to notice. But her smile faltered when she saw the director speaking quietly with a producer, both looking her way. The control she'd fought so hard to maintain was slipping. And what she didn't know yet, what no one had told her, was that Amazon executives were already drafting a memo. A memo that would question her conduct, review her contract, and determine whether Meghan Markle was now more liability than asset. The walkout had shaken the set. But the memo? That would shake Hollywood. And before the ink dried on that document, something far worse would leak, something that would expose what really happened on that set in Meghan's own voice. The walkout should have been the end. A cooling-off period. A quiet pause before lawyers stepped in, before PR teams crafted their statements, before everyone went back to pretending the fire had never started. That's how Hollywood usually works. Contain the chaos, rewrite the story, smile for the cameras. But this wasn't a normal production. This was Meghan Markle's comeback, and nothing around her ever stayed quiet for long. 3 days after Lily Collins left the set, the first email leaked. No one knows who did it. Some said it came from a frustrated production assistant. Others claimed it was someone inside Amazon, sick of being silenced. But whoever it was, they didn't just leak gossip, they leaked proof. The email thread began innocently enough. Subject line, scene adjustments, collaboration notes. It was between Meghan, the director, the producer, and a few key department heads. At first glance, it looked routine, until you started reading Meghan's messages. Her tone was unmistakable. "I've given this a lot of thought," she wrote in one message. "The current script doesn't honor the authenticity of my character's emotional journey. I would like full creative review of all my dialogue moving forward. Please have the writing team send revisions directly to me for final approval." Final approval. Two words that sent the entire studio reeling. Actors don't get final approval. Not even Oscar winners. Not unless they're also producers, and Meghan wasn't. In another email, she wrote, "I understand the director's input, but some of his creative instincts seem outdated. We're telling a story about empowerment, not submission. Let's ensure the female leads reflect my vision. My vision, not our." One line stood out more than the rest, a sentence that would be quoted in nearly every article that followed. "If the crew is struggling to adapt to my process, perhaps they're not the right fit for a production of this caliber." That single email hit the industry like a lightning bolt. Because behind the PR smiles and humanitarian speeches, here was Meghan, unfiltered, uncompromising, and apparently unconcerned with diplomacy. Within hours of the leak, screenshots began circulating through private Hollywood group chats. Agents, journalists, and executives forwarded them like wildfire. By evening, Deadline had the story. Leaked emails suggest Meghan Markle clashed with director, demanded creative control of Amazon film. Amazon's PR team scrambled into action. They released a carefully worded statement. "We are aware of alleged unauthorized correspondence being shared publicly. The integrity of our production and the collaboration of our cast remain our top priority." But no one bought it. Inside the studio, panic spread like smoke. Executives wanted answers. Who leaked the emails? How much more was out there? And most importantly, could they still finish the movie without the entire cast walking out? Brie Larson received the news while she was at home. Her phone buzzed nonstop with notifications. She clicked one of the screenshots, read the lines twice, and then whispered, "Oh God." She'd seen tension before, but this was career-ending stuff. Lily Collins, meanwhile, was in London when the story broke. Her agent called early that morning. "Lily, don't open Twitter," he said. "Why?" "Because Meghan's emails are everywhere." Lily did open Twitter. She scrolled in silence, her expression unreadable. Then she sighed. "Well," she said finally, "truth has a way of finding daylight." And daylight wasn't done yet. Because the emails weren't the only thing leaked. Alongside them came an internal Amazon note, a short but devastating summary written by a mid-level producer after a meeting with executives. It read, "Concerns have been raised regarding Ms. Markle's on-set behavior and its impact on morale. Multiple department heads report tension, miscommunication, and an environment described as unsustainable. Recommendation, immediate HR review." That word, unsustainable, became the headline of the day. Entertainment Tonight, Variety, TMZ. Every outlet ran some version of the story. Photos of Meghan on set, smiling confidently, now carried new captions. "Behind the smile, turmoil on the Amazon set." Within 48 hours, the project had gone from a $100 million prestige film to a public relations nightmare. Meghan's team responded swiftly. They issued a statement claiming the leaks were an orchestrated smear campaign against her. They accused unnamed individuals of jealousy and sabotage. But damage control doesn't work when the receipts are in your own words. The internet dissected every sentence of those emails. Commentators compared them to the accusations once leveled at Meghan's royal staff: bullying, control, intimidation. The parallels were too strong to ignore. "She's consistent, at least," one journalist quipped. "Whether palace or production, it's always the same story. It's everyone else's fault." For Lily Collins, the leak was vindication. For Meghan, it was exposure. And for Amazon, it was chaos. The executives met again, this time in crisis mode. One senior VP reportedly said, "We hired Meghan for her global brand. We got the royal drama instead." They discussed pausing production indefinitely. Lawyers debated contractual obligations. Some whispered about quietly recasting. Others warned that dropping Meghan now would look like discrimination. Meanwhile, Meghan refused to back down. In a now infamous reply all to her team, she wrote, "It's unfortunate that people can't handle a woman with standards. I've been silenced before. It won't happen again." The tone was pure defiance, part rallying cry, part warning shot. And while her fans applauded her strength, those working behind the scenes saw something different: isolation. One crew member told an insider blog, "She's alone now. Even the people defending her are doing it because they're afraid." Brie Larson, ever the diplomat, stayed silent publicly. But privately, she told a friend, This isn't sustainable anymore. None of us can work like this. The production's morale hit rock bottom. Crew members requested transfers. Assistants quit. And rumors swirled that Amazon had quietly begun an internal investigation into the leaks and into Meghan's behavior. Then came the second wave of leaks. This time, it wasn't emails. It was text messages, screenshots.